Kicks 105.5, Little Texas, and Missing Years. A wonderful morning to you. I'm Sean Knight. Joining me in studio, as he does Wednesdays, Mike Barrett from Barrett Insurance Agency. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
So it was a wonderful weekend with rain and maple syrup. I didn't get to see you, but I did eat a pancake in your honor.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And did you steal a bunch of the maple syrup nips like you did last year?
Oh, I sure did, buddy. Oh, boy.
Maple syrup for a year for Sean. He's got
yummy,
a couple
yummy.
hundred nips now.
Weighing my pants down as I'm walking through downtown St. Johnsbury. Hey, excuse me, sir. No, leave me alone. So, interesting thing, I've seen a lot of people putting up additions to their home and building houses.
Yes.
When it comes to putting on additions or building a home, there's got to be a lot of permit stuff that goes into that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So every town, there's only a select few towns in the area that don't have zoning bylaws that would be enforceable, but primarily everybody else does. And so, yeah, you're going through the process of buying the land if you're building or getting the permitting process underway, making sure everything is, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But what's the one thing, I should say the I's aren't dotted because I is insurance, and that's the one thing they don't dot, I should say. But it's interesting, over the number of years that I've been doing this, how many people begin or even go through midway or go all the way with building a home and with no insurance on it.
Maybe we should get some insurance for this project.
Yeah.
And you should have insurance.
From once the second you put the shovel in the dirt, you can buy coverage.
Because you've got people that are working on it. That's a liability. You've got, maybe faulty material or something could go wrong. The place could collapse or you could have a flood.
You could have a flood, you could have a tree fall on it, you could have a fire, you could have theft, you could have vandalism, somebody could come and swipe your tools.
And the purpose of having an insurance is so that you can, recover any loss.
Right.
And so...
And your time is valuable. I mean, we're talking, I've seen it in both instances where a contractor is building a property, but also in the case where somebody has built their own property, whether or not they themselves are a contractor, where they have built houses. I've gone to houses that when I've done a valuation on them, I'm coming in at $325,000 and there's no coverage on it at that time. Can you imagine?
Well, what I don't understand is why wouldn't it be that the contractor would have some kind of, it would seem like if you were bonded, you'd be insured and that's your insurance, but that doesn't cover the building. It just covers your work on it.
It all comes down to insurable interest. So builders can certainly buy a builder's risk policy, and even in some cases, their own business policies may have some level of coverage for the materials, but really the definition of who owns it changes from the second it's nailed into the wall.
Right.
So once the shingles are on the roof versus on the ground ready to be put up, the ownership really essentially changes. So you really need to have some coverage. And it's interesting. If you are having a home built, some companies have a rule that as long as from dirt to finish is 180 days or less, you can have a regular homeowner policy. Policy.
So that's convenient.
Which is because you're looking at a brand new house. You're going to get incredible crediting for that. It's going to be very cost effective. Now the problem lies is once you have a foundation and work has begun, you're no longer going to be eligible for that homeowner because you didn't get it at the inception of the process.
Do you go and check it out in stages as it's being built? Like, it would seem to me that halfway through, your insurance coverage should be slightly more because now there's more of a building.
Right.
And then when it's almost done, you should have slightly more insurance because it's almost done. And then when it's done, you should have slightly more insurance because it's done.
Right, depending on how it's written. So I have some that if I write as a homeowner policy from the day that the construction starts, I have had a dialogue with the owner and said, well, what's the finish going to be? And I know the square footage, I know the appropriate or approximate materials.
Days, you can have.
You can write it for the full replacement value of completion from day one.
Otherwise, it would be probably, double until it's actually done?
Yeah, the pricing can be pretty up there. So there are companies that will say, look, we'll insure it while it's getting built. Not a problem. It's going to be this much net. And that's when we would do the stages. I have at least a couple right now that are in that process where we've insured them for a while and they're in stages and they don't have a homeowner policy because maybe we wrote them after they began. But we are increasing coverage as they continue to go. Hey, we put the cabinetry in, so maybe we should increase by this. So where the doors are all in, maybe we should increase by this. The roof is on, but have that dialogue is, what a scary thought to think what could happen.
To lose it while you're building it.
Lose it while you're building it, and it parlays into a lot of folks who say, and this is just a sidestep of this conversation, but it's related, is that when people have built their own homes, they know pretty well what the material cost was and what they have into the home. One thing they always don't count for is their labor. So they're always quite shocked when I come back with a value that is more than what they thought it should be. And they said, well, I built it. I'm like, yeah, but in 30 years, when you are 60 years old, do you want to rebuild this? Because that's what we're writing it for. We're writing it for the life of the home, what it would take to have somebody come and build the home. So,
and labor is something that they always go, let the next guy do his free labor. I did my free labor. But that is important.
yeah. And, if you are going to be building a house, if you are considering building a house, if you're doing a renovation, because that's another thing that you brought up, if you're doing renovations, we want to make sure that you have coverage for that too. If you're adding on a sizable addition or
what if you're
a
one
big
of those
porch,
just slow people that like, I'll add an addition, honey, and you do a little on the weekend, and 5 years later you finally finish the project.
Yeah.
That's just kind of like, I don't know if I want to put that kind of money into it. But as you said before, you go, I don't want to put that money into it. But if you lose it, then you're like, man, I should have done that.
It's gone. Yeah.
So don't coulda, shoulda, woulda. Make sure that you call Barrett Insurance Agency at
748-5224. Visit our website, thebarrettagency.com. Google, Facebook, and YouTube is all Barrett Insurance Agency. And we're on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury.